Hi, and welcome to this episode of Simply Cooking with Ken Thompson. I just picked up one of those big pork loins at the club store, like Costco, BJ's, those places. Anyway, I'm going to cut that up. I'm going to food save some of it, but I'm going to save off a roast that I'm going to use in the crock pot today. Then I'm going to make a couple of sides to go with that for dinner tonight. So I'll take you through the process. Keep watching and see how it goes. Okay, this is what we're starting with today. I just picked this up at the club store. It's a boneless pork loin, 8.77 pounds. I'm going to cut this up into 2 roasts and some chops. I'm going to keep one roast off for today because I'm going to put that in the crock pot or the slow cooker. We're going to have that with dinner tonight. The other I will food save the rest, and I try to food save things in portions that I'm going to use. So first thing I have to do is take this out of the package, rinse it off, bring it back over here and start cutting. I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so here's that pork loin. As you can see, it's a little bigger than my cutting board, so I went ahead and just grabbed the paper plate to let it slide off the end. I'm going to be cutting that part off here momentarily anyway, and that's going to go in the slow cooker for tonight's dinner. Okay, as I said, I'm going to start by cutting about this much off the end. We're going to use that as a roast for tonight's dinner. Pull this off. Yeah, let's see, right about there. Does that look good to you guys? Let's try it. And don't be joking on my knives here. I know they're not the sharpest in town. Now this is a little bit larger roast than I normally would cook, but it's going to do just fine. There was a pretty sizable amount there at the end that I wanted to take off, so we'll put that off to the side for right now. Next, I'm going to go ahead and cut a little bit smaller roast off of this end. Okay, we're going to take that, and let's see, let's go a little bit more. Like I said, don't be joking my knives here. I know they're not great. I really need to spend some time sharpening them. I'm going to slide this over onto another one of these paper plates until I get ready to use the food saver. Now next, what I'll do is I'm going to cut the rest of this into chops. So, what I like to do is cut them right here, a little bit, right about an inch or so. Okay, maybe a little bit thicker than I wanted. But this makes nice boneless pork chops. Got a little bit of fat on them. But all in all, these are really nice chops. Go ahead and cut the rest of these. Okay, those chops will probably go in something more like a casserole. Now when it comes to chops that I fry up in my cast iron, I like to make them a little thinner. I'm going to cut these a little bit thinner. Okay. Not a whole lot thinner, but a little bit. So when I'm frying them in the cast iron, I do like to get a little bit of char on the outside, of that brown on the outside, because I think that's where most of the flavor comes from when you do that. But I also like them to be able to cook through without having to overdo the outside. Alright, so there we have it. So as you can see, out of one 8 3/4 pound pork loin, we've got 2 roasts. I've got 5 thick pork chops. I've got 10 thinner pork chops. The thick ones I would usually use in something like a casserole dish along with some cream of mushroom soup or something like that. The thinner ones I will typically use in the cast iron skillet and just fry those up. And of course my roasts are typically going to be done in a slow cooker. So let's get on to food saving the stuff we're not going to use today. Okay, first we start off by making a few bags. I'm going to need a total of 4. I'm going to put 5 chops, 5 chops, 5 chops, and a roast, and the other roast we're going to cook today. So start by making sure we have our roll in here, our roll of the bag material. This down, close this for a moment, seal light comes on. When that comes off, there it goes, it turns off. Go ahead and just pull this out. It's made a seal across there. Go ahead and pull this out, estimating about how much room we're going to need to put these in. That should be about right. And then cut. There we go. Okay, now the next thing I like to do is go ahead and take all my meats and put them in their bags and get them ready to vacuum seal. So just basically open this up like so. And sometimes it's a little difficult to get them in there, but you can do it. If it does get a little wet around here, you can take a little paper towel and wipe that off, because it will cause it not to seal properly if it's too wet. So we'll put this off to the side and go on to the next. Okay, once you've got everything in bags, and just move this over a little bit, I'm going to pull this up here. Now, any kind of meats that have a lot of liquid in them, you have to be real careful with. Some people will take a strip of paper towel and lay right across here to keep the liquid from coming up. I don't typically do it because I don't really need to freeze these for very long. We go through this food fairly quickly, so I'm not going to try to get absolutely every bit of air out, just mostly vacuum sealed. As soon as I see the liquid start to rise in here, I will hit my seal button, and that will stop the vacuum and start sealing immediately. That way it doesn't pull the liquid out of the bag before it tries to seal. So, very simple. It's usually best if you try to get this to where it's angling down a little bit anyway. If you lift this up simply, slide this right in here. Through a little window you can see the edge of the bag in there, which is all you need. And take and push down both sides of this bar. And there she goes. Like I said, that's all I really want. This gets out 90% of the air or more. And I don't have to bother with the paper towel thing. Now, if you wanted to keep it in your freezer longer, you might want to do that just so you can get more air out. Okay, there we go. One vacuum packed bag of 5 pork chops. These will be ready to use whenever we're ready to pull them out. And I like to put them in here flat like this so they'll thaw quickly. Okay, now I know that you can get really complicated if you want to, but honestly, I've done this several times. It comes out really good. And there's just really not a whole lot to it. Very simply, I'm going to take some plain distilled white vinegar. I'm just going to pour a couple of teaspoons into the bottom here. All right. I'm going to pour a little bit of water in with it. Say, I don't know, about 1/3 of a cup or so. Then I'm going to take my pork loin roast. I'm going to set it in here with the fat on the top. That helps to let the fat run through the meat as it renders off while it's cooking. After that comes one simple thing. 1 envelope of onion soup mix. Just open it up and sprinkle it on top. Okay. I'm going to pour a little more water in. The reason I'm doing that is because pork can tend to be a little dry. I'm going to put some on the top, and I'm going to try not to wash all of the soup mix off. Since pork can be a little bit dry after it's cooked and cut, you can always take some of this liquid and spoon it over top of your pork when you serve it. That helps to get things nice and moist again and add some more flavor back in. So, let me show you what we got here. Okay, it's quite simple. Now we're just going to turn this on and let it cook for about 4 or 5 hours, and then we'll make our sides. Okay, we're back and getting ready to start on one of our sides. This is a mac and cheese that I make here at the house. It's our homemade mac and cheese. It's really super simple. No baking required. We just need a large pot to boil some water. I've got a 2-pound box of elbow macaroni. I'm only going to use about 3/4 of it. about a pound of sharp cheddar cheese, which I will grate. I've got about 5 slices of a Velveeta style cheese. They're about 3/8 of an inch thick each. Don't know what that is in weight, but you can mix it according to you like. We've got a large bowl to mix everything in, and of course there will be a colander. So first thing we need to do is grate our cheese and cook our macaroni. Okay, and there's our grated cheese. Okay, so I've taken a large bowl, I've put some of the shredded cheese in the bottom and a couple of those slices of the Velveeta style cheese. Next we're going to put some macaroni on top. Now I drained but did not rinse the macaroni, and that's quite on purpose. I need it to stay hot. Okay, so we have our bowl, got some cheese in the bottom. You go ahead and take some of this cheese, some of this macaroni, sorry. Get a bit, loosen up just a little bit in there. Okay, I'll just spread that around a little bit, cover up that cheese. Next, we're going to take some more of our grated cheese, sprinkle it on top of this. Basically another small layer here. Move it out a little bit, spread it out nice and evenly. The best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. The thing about a lot of my recipes, they don't have to be perfect. They still come out just fine. So we're going to take these last 3 slices of the Velveeta style cheese. This is actually a store brand, but it's pretty much the same. Now we're going to put some more macaroni right on top, just like so. Okay, just like that. And I think that's all we're going to put in this one. I have other uses for macaroni. I'll just put this in the refrigerator. It'll come in handy a little bit later. And now we're going to take a little more of our shredded cheese and we're going to put right on top. And by the way, I do not use the packaged shredded cheese. They put some ingredients in there to keep the cheese from sticking together in the package, of course. And I think it's really just a light dusting of flour, but it doesn't really work well in a recipe like this. So you really, unfortunately, not as simple as some of the things I do. You do need to actually take some block cheese and grate it up. I use my KitchenAid mixer with the attachment that goes on the front. I'll shoot you a quick picture of that. But that thing works great. Now, what we want to do here is we want to cover this. Typically, I would use a plate if I've got one that's large enough. And what I'm going to have to do here is take my plate and just turn it upside down over the top, like so. Set this off to the side and let it sit for a while so that the cheese will melt. And when the cheese melts, we'll just come back with a good stiff spoon and we're going to mix the cheese into the macaroni. And when that's done, it's done. It's ready to serve. Okay, here it is. Look at that. That smells delicious. Okay, so we're going to take this out and we're going to start slicing. Okay, I'm just going to wipe a little of the stuff off the top here, the onion soup mix that was on top. Alright. Put this over here, just like so, and look at that, we just push the fat right off of the top, just like that. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so let's go ahead and take this over here. Okay, let's see. Next, let's take this and start to see if we can actually cut it. A lot of times when I do this, it doesn't cut very well. It starts to just shred into pieces. Of course, it would probably help if my knives were a little bit sharper. There you go. See that? That is some good looking roast. So we're going to cut this up the rest of the way. And then we're going to put some on the plate. We'll probably put a few shreds on along with some slices if we can get slices. This is really starting to fall apart really good here. You can see that, I imagine. Yeah, at this point, I'm just going to start tearing this apart. Look at that. See? Look at that go. Nice thing about this is, like I said, you've still got all the juice in the bottom of the slow cooker. You can put this on the plate, take a spoon, get a little of that juice out, put it right on top. I'm going to shred the whole thing. Yeah. See that? Fall apart. Neat. And very, very, very flavorful. Now this was on a crock pot on high for about 5 hours this afternoon. If I had started it in the morning earlier, I would have just put it on low heat for probably 8 hours or so, but considering it wasn't frozen to start with, this worked out really well. So now what we've got here is a whole big pile of shredded pork. Isn't that gorgeous? Now isn't that gorgeous? Beautiful. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Take the plate off the top. And as you can see, the cheese is melting in pretty nicely. You start mixing this in like so. You just have to stir it in real good. Cheese is a little stringy, which is good. So basically, you've got cheese, and macaroni. That's it. No baking. We don't have to make a sauce. Oops. Huh. I guess one of the cats might get that, huh? I'm going to put this back in here. Make sure that you get to the bottom because you did put a layer of cheese right on the bottom. I have found in some cases that my cheese didn't melt very well. And if that is ever the case, you can actually take this whole bowl, put it in the microwave for about maybe a half a minute to a minute. You might try half a minute, pull it back out, and you find that the cheese has melted quite a bit. But that right there looks really good. It's kind of nice if you like to have some clumps of cheese in there. You can leave it just like this. If you want it a little smoother and creamier, well, you could do some other things. I've heard, of course, you could possibly add a little bit of evaporated milk or even just straight milk if you wanted to, possibly some half and half. Mix it up with that. But my kids seem to like it just like this. So I tend to stick with this recipe. It works quite well and it's very, very simple. And it's very, not hard to make at all. And that's that. Okay, so there you go. Okay, next we are going to make a plate. So let's get out a plate. We'll take a little bit of this here mac and cheese and we're going to put it right over here on the side. Okay. Then we have our green beans, which remember were just canned green beans. 2 cans in here, a decent sized scoop of bacon grease. I cooked it in the microwave, if you can say cook in a microwave, for about 4 minutes. Basically until it gets hot enough to make the, that bacon grease melt. And you got some nice hot green beans. And you get a little bacon flavor added in there. So take that, put that over here. So again, everything here is very simple. This is not gourmet, trust me. Okay, next, we'll go ahead and take some of the shredded pork that we have here now. Some of that over there, get some of the darker meat over in here. Put that off to the side. Okay. And one more thing, as I said, there's quite a bit of juice left here in the bottom of our slow cooker. So we're just going to take some of that off the top. I'll spread it right across there. There you go. All right. So there you have it. Ooh, my juice is running all over the place, but it's very tasty. Believe me, I've made this dinner many times. My family simply devours it. It's really good stuff, and it didn't take a whole lot to make. So now we have a good family meal. This is pretty simple, very easy to make. The only time required that was of any significance was the slow cooker time, but you're not watching it do that anyway. House smells great when you come home, and everything is going to be tasty tonight for dinner. Okay, so there you have it, dinner. We've got some shredded pork. We've got some green beans with bacon grease. We have my homemade macaroni and cheese, which is pretty simple. It's macaroni and cheese. That's it. This makes a really tasty, healthy dinner. Healthy enough. But I do appreciate you watching. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. Leave some comments in the bottom and let me know what you think. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And again, I'd like to thank you for watching Simply Cooking with Ken Thompson. Bye-bye.